It's your boy Taz coming live for this movie review. You know, this is Taz on the Reel. I'm gonna bring you all the reviews for the Netflix movies that doesn't get the annual review. All right, y'all. Y'all know why I'm here, and it's already just so it's going to be hard to even talk about this. Just being a black man, being a young man, and being in a society that has now tried to like cover cover that cover that same sense of justice up and clean it up in a nicer way nowadays than they did when this happened. But we're covering When They See Us, the Netflix docu series about the Netflix remake docu series about the Central Park Five. The Central Park Five takes place around 1989 when a young jogger was taking a jog in the New York area at a park during a night where a group of kids was just going out to have fun at the park, um, just be young kids, teenagers running around. In a time where being outside was more of a common thing, playing across the streets, playing before the lights came on at night was a common thing. Now, what happened was that some of the kids were tormenting the joggers, some of the kids were beating on the joggers and bicyclists, and this young woman has and this the young woman that was in the park got first beaten and raped and left for dead during this situation. First and foremost, I'm glad that young woman found justice for everything that she went through. Because in a society now, we're going through so much with our women, and especially with this abortion law, I can only imagine, you know, if this happened and then you were told about you cannot have an abortion, even with a situation like this. If she ended up pregnant and, not knowing who it was, not, you know, having a husband at the time and having to deal with that, having her body in such a condition to, to be asked to prepare for another life to be built upon the state of her body. That in itself is horrific and tragic. And not to take away from that, there is another situation that is being occurred in this scenario, which happens with the Central Park Five. And with the Central Park Five, you have the five gentlemen. I want to get their names correct: Raymond Santana, Kevin Richardson, Antron McCrae, Yusef Salam, and Corey Wise. Um, and you get shown you get shown how these five young men get treated through our justice system. Now, how it starts off, there's a lot of problems with how it starts off. Just going this lets me know that we need to first and foremost teach our kids, you know, about first learn ourselves about our justice system so we can teach our kids how to properly be, how to properly handle and be handled in a situation that can occur like this, especially for a black young men, especially for a black young women. We have to we have to give them the knowledge so they won't be in a situation like this. These five young children went into a police office and gave and were forced and coerced by the police to give these false statements. One thing that was really hard to watch was how they were beaten down about these false statements. Who built the case? The detective who built the case upon these, young men. That she came in, she was like, "Oh, it was around the same time. It was in that area, so it must have been these people." Now, with that, she took these kids and she, in a sense, just picked them at random. Like this could have been literally any five kids, any six kids, because they felt like it was another person. It could have been any set, but it was the fact of how she cut corners. She cut every corner to try to find the wrong criminal, just to bring uh, a a ill sense of justice to this young woman's case. And first, it would have never happened if those kids were white. Let me clear the air on that. It would have been a different. It would have been a different atmosphere of what actually happened, how that happened, and what mind state were they in for them to commit these crimes if these young children were white or of a fairer tone. But because these young men were black, they got the sense of, let's take them in a room, let's get a confession from them. So they took them in a room, and for 48 hours they they basically pushed, prod, and did everything else to these young men, not not giving them any sense of, break, telling them that they could go to jail, telling them that they could do life, uh, giving them false hopes of going home. They did everything, and these children just told the truth. These children told, these children signed things saying, "Oh, this is my story. This is my story. This is my story." And even with Corey, I I I commend Corey Wise. I commend all of these brothers, but Corey Wise was a different strength because of the fact that he literally he literally went in just for a friend. And that's the true testament of a friend. I I don't know many friends that would do that to, you know, have that potentially happen to them, for them to go that deep and in depth with the situation that, you know, they'll stay just to get prosecuted and all of this happens to them. But that's a true friend. Now, when the parents showed up, and after these 48 hours of going throughout all of this, and, dealing with each one of these situations, I have to say, for the Look, understand that um, Raymond's dad, first off, Raymond Santana. I find no excuse. I find no reason why you think your job should be better than or more important than your son. It I feel like the parents fell short on certain aspects, and for Raymond Santana's first father to be like, I have to go back to work. I can't deal with this at this moment, and to not show up through half of the court case. I felt like that was a big disappointment in the life of your child. Like that's one thing that's not, no day was promised, and your child lost years. You didn't get to see them for years on a daily basis, on an average basis. So for you to think that your job was more important was very sad to see. Another one where the dad disappointed me was, excuse me, um, I think it was Antron McCray. Antron, Antron's father and mother was there through the process, and that was beautiful. When they showed up and how they fought for their son. But when the father got his chance to sit down with his son and talk and told him, hey, just do what they say, because he was in fear of his job and in fear of his past. Your past doesn't depict your child's future, or it should not. Your child has their own future. They're an extension of you, but only to an extent. And that was disgusting for you to say that to a child. You have to first and foremost be a pillar for your child, but an example even more. And that was a wrong example. Um, Now for Yusef and Corey's for Yusef and Corey's mother, I felt like that was the wrong actions, and not to say on Corey's mother's part, but for definitely Yusef's mom. I felt like she could have been more kinder to someone in the same situation as you. You don't have this luxury, man, where you can feel like you're on top of something, or you're better, or your child is different. The system doesn't look at it like that. You're not too much better. You may have a different job, but your different job does not mean nothing when I still locked your child up and someone else's child up for something they did not commit. I don't care. And she did not realize that, and she didn't know that there was more power in embracing another person instead of belittling them or straying away from them. So that's how I feel about the parents. Now, the way that we've seen these five grow over the years, the way that we've seen them get you know, reinstated into society, it makes you think, because they missed a whole generation. They went from the they went from 1989 to some of them 1995, the middle of a generation, or the middle of an era, to even some 2000s. So for that to happen like that, it's hard to even understand where you stand in society. To get told that, you can't do certain jobs, you can't work with certain people, you have to show up here every 90 days for the rest of your life. It, that type of control and that type of dehumanization is sickening. Um, but what really hit home for me was not until the last part of the series where you saw Corey Corey Wise go through everything he went through. And for the other young men, they probably got bullied. They probably got um, talked about and beaten. But to show it to an extent of when you're really in prison and you get beaten and stabbed and transferred and beaten and stabbed and transferred and beaten and stabbed. And everywhere you go, you're not being appreciated or you're not getting help where you need the proper help. Or you still have to go to places like solitary just to get that just to get that sense of hu- being human again or having safety. With that being showed was so just so earth shaking, especially when you know the way that it happened, and really without a sense, and to say really being in without Corey Wise's part in this, these young men probably would have still been in prison because without him running into the man that actually did the crime, they probably would have never got that. He probably would have never had that chance to say, wow, this is how I really got it. This is how it really affected these, these people who never did. The justice system put together a story and a string of lies of things that did not happen, clothing, beating, semen that wasn't theirs. Which some of these guys was what 13. You're probably just producing semen, not even knowing how to do these things with a woman yet, and giving false statements. And he had to think about all of these things that you know and he put on Corey and the four other young men. And I think that was so powerful to see and to understand. So, and I think this was a great work of art. I think this was, I think this did great storytelling to tell us about this situation. Um, Problem I had with them, prop, the only problem that I had with this was the actor for Corey Wise. Y'all could have changed him up if you're going to change everybody else. Not sure why you just kept that one actor the same. Um, for you, Seth, I don't think you had to get a familiar face for something like this. None like um besides Michael K. Wilson and a few other people, you didn't have to have you know very well known actors for this. You know, I think y'all could have just got somebody who more look like yourself in this situation, to depict the older version of him. Um, but with that, this helps me know, teach and learn more than I'm already doing. Excuse me. Because I need to do more. And I wouldn't want this to happen to someone I loved, I cared about, or I know. This these situations bring so much, and these situations bring the right conversation to the forefront. And so I thank Ava DuVernay for doing this project. It was amazing. I loved it. I'm going to go back and look at the Central's Part 5 and really like study. So I just want to bring this to y'all. Thank you. You know, not trying to do no more videos around 20 minutes. I know it's hard to watch, but um, I just had to share this, guys. And I thank you for watching. Thank you for being a part of this. Um, like, share, subscribe, comment, and stay safe.